Stella stood at the altar, her lace gown shimmering softly with every breath she took. Guests whispered from the pews, their murmurs sharp like needles. He was 2 hours late. The priest coughed gently, asking if they should begin without him. Her hands trembled. She looked at the double doors again. No sound. No footsteps. Only silence. Her phone buzzed in her clutch, one text. "I'm sorry. Please forgive me." That was it. No name. No explanation. He was gone. And so was her happily ever after. The first time Stella saw Mark, it wasn't the kind of moment movies make a fuss about. No accidental coffee spills. No dramatic music. Just a quiet Tuesday afternoon in a second-hand bookstore tucked between a faded pharmacy and a hardware shop in Lagos. She was crouched near the bottom shelf, thumbing through a tattered copy of Purple Hibiscus, when a deep voice floated over her shoulder. "That one will break your heart and patch it up again." She turned, surprised, and met the calm eyes of a man with soft dreadlocks tucked into a beanie. He had a stack of poetry books in his hand and a gentle smile that crept up only on one side. "You've read it?" she asked, curious. "Twice," he said. "Once for myself. Once after a heartbreak." It made more sense the second time. They spent the next 30 minutes in the aisle, talking about books that made them cry, laugh, and question everything. Mark didn't flirt, not in the usual way. He listened. He remembered things. Like how she said she hated the smell of old paper but loved the stories they held. He asked if she wanted to grab a smoothie across the street. She hesitated. Strangers, Lagos, you never know, but something about him felt disarmingly safe. Maybe it was his eyes. Maybe it was the way he never once checked his phone while she spoke. That first smoothie led to a walk. That walk turned into a dinner date the next weekend. And dinner became long late-night calls filled with silences that didn't feel awkward. The kind of silences that let two people breathe in sync. By the end of the month, Stella was texting him goodnight before bed and waking up to morning messages that made her cheeks hurt from smiling. She had dated before, some casually, some seriously, but none like this. Mark didn't chase her with promises. He just showed up. Again and again. And somehow, without her realizing, Stella began to imagine a future with him in it. By the third month, Stella had stopped pretending she wasn't falling for him. Mark had a way of folding himself into her life without making it feel like an intrusion. He learned her routines, how she needed silence in the mornings until her first cup of tea, how she preferred to read in bed with one pillow propped behind her, and how she would always order plantain no matter what restaurant they visited. He made everything feel easy. On Sundays, he'd show up with a bag of fresh akara and steaming pap from the roadside vendor near his apartment. Sometimes, they'd go to church together. Other times, they'd stay in, sprawled across the couch with their legs tangled, watching old Nollywood films and laughing at the dramatic sound effects. When they were apart, Mark would send her pictures of random things that reminded him of her, a sunflower from a street garden, the cover of a book she once mentioned, even a pair of earrings he thought would look like trouble on you, in a good way. Her friends noticed the glow in her voice whenever she spoke about him. "You're in deep," her best friend Tai teased one evening as they sat sipping Chapman at a rooftop bar. Stella didn't deny it. She'd stopped pretending this was just a good phase. It was more. She could feel it. And then came the night he first mentioned marriage. It was raining, heavy Lagos rain, the kind that made you forget the world beyond your front door. They were on her balcony, sharing suya wrapped in old newspaper, when Mark said, almost casually, "If I marry you, I promise I'll never let a single day go by without reminding you how much you mean to me." She laughed, thinking it was just romance speaking. But he was serious. His eyes held hers for a long moment. From that night, the idea of marriage was no longer abstract. It became part of their conversations, their plans. And Stella, with her heart wide open, began to believe every word he said. The proposal wasn't extravagant, but it was everything Stella had ever wanted. Mark had taken her back to that same bookstore where they first met. He had secretly arranged with the owner to close the place early. As she walked through the aisles, she noticed little notes tucked inside books she picked up. "For the woman who changed my story, for the one I never want to stop reading life with." At the end of the aisle, he stood holding a worn copy of Purple Hibiscus. Inside, a ring was pressed between the pages. Stella's heart raced. Her knees went weak. "Marry me," he said simply, voice trembling just enough for her to know he meant it. She cried. She laughed. She said yes. From that moment, her life became a whirl of excitement and planning. Every detail felt like a dream coming true: the lace dress she chose with her mother, the church she and Mark agreed on, the color palette of soft gold and emerald green. Mark threw himself into the process too. He was there for cake tastings, for choosing the music, even for the endless seating arrangements that drove Stella half mad. Whenever she got overwhelmed, he would cup her face in his hands and whisper, "Don't worry. I'm here. We're in this together." Her friends teased that he was too perfect, but she brushed it off. He was attentive, kind, patient, and always reassuring. What more could she ask for? As the date drew closer, Stella often caught herself staring at him when he wasn't looking, wondering how she got so lucky, how her life had aligned with someone who felt carved out just for her. And every night, as she drifted off to sleep, she replayed his promise in her head. We're in this together. Little did she know, that promise would shatter on the very day it mattered most. Stella woke up before dawn, her heart pounding with the kind of joy that only comes once in a lifetime. Today, she wasn't just Stella. Today, she would become Mrs. Stella Mark. Her mother knocked softly on the door before stepping in, her eyes misty but smiling. Wake up, my daughter. Today is your day. The house buzzed with excitement. Aunties moved around with Jill already tied, cousins ran errands, and the scent of fried puff-puff drifted in from the kitchen. Stella sat before the mirror, watching as the makeup artist painted her face into a vision of elegance. The white lace gown hung by the window, catching golden sunlight as if heaven itself was blessing the fabric. By 9 a.m., photographers had arrived. The bridal train bustled in matching emerald dresses, laughing, teasing, adjusting her veil. Stella's father peeked into the room, struggling to hold back tears. He had always been the stoic one, but today, his little girl was leaving home. You look like your mother did on our wedding day, he whispered before kissing her forehead. Her heart swelled. Everything felt perfect. The convoy of cars lined up outside, honking with celebratory cheer. As she stepped into the decorated white Lexus that would carry her to the church, Stella clutched her bouquet and whispered a silent prayer. Thank you, God. Thank you for giving me this pure love. She believed, with every fiber of her being, that Mark was waiting at the altar, ready to seal their promises with forever. What she didn't know was that while she was stepping into the car with joy, Mark was already slipping out of her life. The church was already buzzing when Stella's car pulled up. Guests in dazzling Asso eBay filled the pews, fanning themselves against the late morning heat. A choir hummed softly, testing their voices, while the priest adjusted his glasses at the altar. As Stella stepped out of the car, a hush of admiration swept through the crowd. Cameras clicked, and gasps of "she looks like an angel" followed her every step. Her bridesmaids straightened her gown, fixing her veil with practiced hands. But inside, something felt off. Mark's car wasn't parked outside. His groomsmen stood awkwardly at the front, exchanging glances. The best man, Connell, kept checking his wristwatch, his jaw tight. Stella brushed it off at first. Traffic, she thought. Lagos roads. Maybe his driver got lost. He was fixing something last minute. She waited in the bridal room, clutching her bouquet tighter as each minute passed. 10 minutes. 20. 40. Her phone vibrated constantly, friends asking, "Where's the groom?" The makeup artist retouched her lipstick with shaky hands. By the 1-hour mark, her chest tightened. She tried calling. No answer. Tried again. Straight to voicemail. Her mother squeezed her hand, whispering, "Don't panic, my child. He will come." But panic had already crawled up her throat, choking her. 2 hours later, the whispers in the congregation turned to murmurs. Guests shifted uncomfortably. Some left their seats to gossip outside. Children grew restless, their laughter piercing through the tension. The priest approached Stella quietly. "My dear, should we delay the service further? Or?" His unfinished question stabbed at her heart. She shook her head, forcing a smile that felt like it would crack her face. His coming. He promised. But in the pit of her stomach, fear began to bloom, cold and suffocating. Then, her phone buzzed. One new message. Her hands trembled as she opened it. Just 4 words. "I'm sorry. Please forgive me." Her vision blurred. The world spun. The man who had sworn forever had vanished without a trace. The message burned on her screen like fire. "I'm sorry. Please forgive me." No explanation. No call. Just those 4 words that shattered everything. Stella's bouquet slipped from her hands, petals scattering across the church floor. Her bridesmaids rushed to her side, whispering frantic questions, but she couldn't answer. Her throat locked. Her chest felt like it was caving in. The priest, realizing what had happened, bowed his head. Guests leaned over pews, murmuring louder now, pity, disbelief, gossip spilling like wildfire. Can you imagine? After all this preparation? God forbid. Stella's father stepped forward, his face dark with anger. "Where is that boy?" he thundered, but even he knew the truth. Mark was gone. Tears blurred Stella's vision. She stumbled back into the bridal room, her mother close behind, wrapping her in trembling arms. "Sure, my daughter. Sure, don't let them see your pain." But the pain was too big to hide. It roared inside her, filling every corner of her chest. Just yesterday, she had been dreaming of her first dance, her honeymoon, her forever. Now, she was a spectacle left standing in white lace, abandoned for all to see. Her phone lit up again, but this time it was Connell, Mark's best man. His voice cracked when she answered. Stella. I don't know what happened. He left his phone with me. He just disappeared. Her stomach dropped. Disappeared. As though he had been swallowed by the earth. For hours, she sat in that room, makeup streaked with tears, veil twisted in her lap, while guests slowly filed out. Some tried to console her. Others shook their heads, clucking their tongues like she was a cautionary tale. By evening, the church was empty. The decorations hung limp, the cake untouched, the hall silent. Stella sat alone on the altar steps, her wedding gown heavy as chains. For the first time since meeting Mark, she felt utterly, terrifyingly alone. And in that silence, a single thought lodged in her mind. Why? Why would a man who promised her forever walk away on the very day forever was meant to begin?